Well, hello, everybody. Happy New Year and welcome into 2025 with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. I am here at Network Control, Barry, on assignment today, which it looks to be a very cold area of the country.
It
Where actually
is.
are you today, Barry?
I am in snowy, dank, sleety, wet, windy Boone, North Carolina. Winds are about 30 miles an hour outside. Troy men's basketball plays on the road at Appalachian State tonight at 5:30 Central Time. First road game of the Sun Belt's conference scheduled for Troy. Looking forward to that. Then tomorrow, we are leaving after the show. We'll be back. I'll be back here tomorrow from Boone, and then we are leaving for a weekend game against Marshall up in Huntington, West Virginia, where they're telling me it's even colder. So say a little prayer for this thin-blooded.
Hope you packed
Alabama.
accordingly.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I got to take some sweats and stuff.
Yeah, let's see. We did the Tuesday show, and then I got on the road with the football team. I got a chance on Tuesday, but before we left, to listen to Chris Stewart and John Parker Wilson. Here, center it up a little bit, John.
Yeah, well, what happened on the screen there? Jeez,
and which was about the first, 12 minutes of game action from the ReliaQuest Bowl. Little did I know, and boy, listening to those guys, they're both great broadcasters. Love me some Chris Stewart, but they were both like, "What in blue blazes is going on around here?" If you're gonna listen to any part of the game, the first 12 minutes, I gotta tell you, John, and I hope I'm not overstating anything. That's the worst 12 minutes of Alabama football I have ever seen in my life. And I've seen a lot.
I haven't thought about the radio broadcast, but I would like to go back and listen to that because I would like to get the tone and the feel and just hear what they had to say. Chris and the gang, I got to imagine that was a difficult broadcast to do under the circumstances. But, I can't argue. It was about the worst 12 minutes that I've ever seen. And I thought the 60 minutes that I saw in Norman was the worst. But this opening of this game, and really not much after that was any good either. A little run before halftime. You felt like maybe the momentum was swinging, but that certainly was not the case when the second half began. I got a whole list here, so just tell me when you're ready.
It was they could not have tried and played worse. I mean, they could not have gone out there and said, "Let's see how." The defense was fine. I got no problem with the Alabama defense. They played hard. They kept them in it, but they could not have tried to play worse on offense. Alabama loses to Michigan, and undermanned Michigan with a jillion opt-outs who weren't even really all that good when they had everybody. And Michigan leads from the start, and they win it 19-13. And also, I got several takeaways too. I have gotten the sense that the national media on social media, and I was on social media a lot because I was on a bus, they could not wait to jump in on this one and pile on Alabama. They were so happy to point out that, hey, Alabama, everybody had been saying they really deserve to be in the playoff. I'm telling you, there was a lot of people out there who could not wait.
Yeah, the Stuart Mandells and the other nerd knocker guys that have never worn a jock strap or put on a pair of shoulder pads, they can't wait. They've been feasting for this day for 17 years, and I get it. I mean, they're tired of, Alabama dominating for so long. So, and this day was coming. We knew it wasn't going to last forever, but the way it has happened, I think is incredibly ugly if you're an Alabama fan. Barry, I've got this question. And I know players, I mean, we're going to talk about individual players. There again, why am I the only person that's critical of Jalen Milroe? Of all these media people out there, why don't they wake up? What are they not seeing that I've been seeing for well over a year? This young man is not a quarterback. And I'm not even sure he's a great athlete now. I mean, I think he's got a lot of attitude and a lot of himself and thinking about maybe his future and not the team. There were some effort lapses in this game, as we saw in Norman. I don't get it. I do not get why Jordan Rodgers thinks this guy needs to come back another year. He might need to go to school a year, but he does not need to come back to Tuscaloosa for another year. I couldn't believe that statement. But, the guy cannot play quarterback. Am I the only one that sees that?
Well, it's not just you. The thing, and I've been a Milroe guy. I still am. I think he's a terrific kid. I think he is a terrific athlete. But the one guy who I really don't understand, to be honest, why he does not agree with you, why he does not see what you've seen, John, is Kalen DeBoer.
Well,
was anybody, and believe me, I'm no Alabama fan. I'm not emotionally invested in them, every snap like so many of our people are, and that's great. But even I'm looking out there, and out for another series. Here comes Milroe. Even in the first quarter, even in the, I'm not talking about late in the game when they really. I'm thinking, holy smokes, he sent him out there again. Do they not have any? That was the thing, and I know Bama fans were wondering the same thing. Can we put somebody else in? I thought if you were ever going to see anybody, that was the time.
Barry, I don't think Kalen DeBoer's got the stones to do it. I think that's pretty obvious because there were multiple times throughout this season he should have put in a different quarterback. But I don't think he's got the guts to do it. I think he kind of came into Tuscaloosa, and I got to give it to Milroe. He pretty much let DeBoer and this team know, hey, I'm QB1. I'm going to go to the basketball game and take pictures and sit next to the coach, and I'm going to go down to the floor of Bama with him, and I'm going to do all this stuff that gives me portrays the image that I'm the guy. And is he really the type of quarterback that Kalen DeBoer really wants? Is that the type of quarterback that fits his offensive style and philosophy? I don't think it is. But I get the sense that DeBoer doesn't have enough guts to say, man, you're just not our guy. And in fear of losing the team or what? But to say, well, I saw him come off the field and I looked in his eyes and he just looked to have the fire in his eyes and I wanted to let him keep playing. Come on. It's obvious as the nose on your face, the guy can't get it done.
Do you and I know probably a lot of people want to hear what John has got to say about this more than me, but I can't figure out, even with the absolute lack of fire on offense. There were so many bad looks in there, so many bad looks the whole time. And I know you a lot of these on your list. They're still in it. They played horrendously against I cannot overstate this, a totally outmanned Michigan squad. Their running back ran for 100 yards. He had like 8 carries all year long.
Never heard of that.
They could not throw the football. Could not. Everybody knew it. And yet Alabama was in it at the very end. They have the ball, down 6, with time on the clock, with timeouts at around the 15-yard line, and they throw it 4 straight times. With a guy who has had no success throwing it, with a guy who can run like the wind. I'm looking at gosh, I've gotten worked out. The Nick Sheridan.
Yeah.
I'm looking at him and thinking, all right, you're going to pull this thing out. You're in prime position. You got timeouts. You got time. You got a quarterback who runs it well. And what I saw, not only 4 consecutive incomplete passes, but what were they? What the heck was that we saw? And game's over and they lose.
I think Rodney He'll join us at the top of the next hour, and Jason Caldwell will also be on next hour as well around the bottom of that hour.
Right.
I think Rodney and Travis have kind of been hinting at it, that, it's time for Kalen DeBoer to make some tough decisions. Are these really the offensive and defensive coordinators that he wants? I think he wanted his guys from Washington to be it, but that didn't happen. Something else did. Are these the guys that he wants running his offense and defense? Is this the type of quarterback that he really wants? Year one's over. You've come into Tuscaloosa and you've gotten your feet wet and you're trying to figure out everything that's going on. You're in a new league and all that. I get it. But he has got to make some tough decisions, and he's got to maybe upset the apple cart a little bit. I wondered about this, Barry. I'm curious about your thoughts on this.
All right.
What does Kalen DeBoer bring to the table as a coach? Is he a great game manager like Saban and Kirby? Is he an offensive guru like Kiffin and Sark? What is it that he does well? Because I don't think I saw any of it this season.
The one thing, and I usually shy away from this because I'm normally about X's and O's and players making plays and, a lot of the other stuff that people get worked up over. A lot of it I don't think is very important. But I don't know that he brings a whole lot of juice to the sidelines. Saban loved it. As a matter of fact, that was probably my favorite thing about Saban on the field was, by gosh, you knew who was in charge. You didn't have to wonder what he was thinking. He was pretty above board about whether he was ticked off at something or somebody or what he was ticked off about or what message he wanted to get across. DeBoer is sitting over there on the sideline, standing over there like, and I'm thinking, does anybody get anything from that? Do the players get any sort of standard bearer? We're going into battle. Let's get behind this guy, because I guarantee you, honestly, one of the things that was really a motivational plus for Saban was nobody wanted to let him down. Nobody wanted to be the guy that he comes over to and says, look, you're letting us down. You screwed this up. I don't know that there's much presence from
Barry,
Kalen DeBoer on the sideline.
And I think we saw examples of it all year, and we saw it yesterday or Tuesday morning. And not only is it not happening on the sidelines, it's not happening on the practice field or in the locker room. When you still have a team making way too many penalties, when you got a team that's got having penalties flags thrown on them for players throwing punches again, and you've got two players walking out for pregame warm-ups with their jerseys on and sunglasses, what in the hell is going on in Tuscaloosa?
And Backway and Ryan Williams. I saw that, and I knew that wasn't going to sit well with you.
I mean, what in the world? I mean, did they get out there and go, hey, man, hold my shades while I run a couple of 40s? I mean, no. I mean, where is there again the discipline? It stops with me. And this stuff's not happening anymore.
Well,
there again, is this his 1 year learning curve from the Pacific Northwest where maybe that stuff goes on and it doesn't in the Deep South, particularly in a league that's extremely competitive and it's cutthroat? Yeah. There again, there's a lot of soul searching that is needed, that's going to need to go on in the spring and the summer.
That's the next question. That's the thing. Okay, Alabama. They don't win 10 games in a season for the first time since 2007, which is insane when you think about it. I mean, that's 17 years with at least 10 wins. They don't do it this year. And the losses, the loss to Tennessee, okay, Tennessee's a good team. But they were a 22.5-point favorite over Vanderbilt, a 14-point favorite over Oklahoma, a 16.5-point favorite over Michigan. I don't ever want to hear, Saban said this, and I got nothing against him. I don't want to hear myself. If Alabama were to play X team in the college football playoffs and X team and Y team and Z team, they'd be favored in all of them. That ain't made a bit of difference.
Well, it certainly hadn't this year. I mean, it would have been It would have been the case in the Saban era, but you got 3 games as a double-digit favorite and lose all 3 of them.
And the manner in which it happened, did that not look like the Vanderbilt game, or did that not look like the Oklahoma game where?
Oh, sure.
Man.
And then back to the staff, Barry, I get the sense there's no discipline, there's no respect. No, just the stupid penalties. It's all about me. To me, Milroe checked out weeks ago.
Well,
and there again, that's on DeBoer. And if what I heard is true, and I heard it from 2 separate people that I respect greatly, that there was a big blow up the week of the Oklahoma game, I don't know why the kid ever played again.
Well, there are some things to talk about. We've got tons of college football playoff, a real tragedy in New Orleans, among other things, means that there's going to be a game this afternoon, 3:00. The Sugar Bowl has been bumped back a day, so we can talk about that. Some other fantastic games, some other blowouts in the college football playoff. Later on, John mentioned it, Rodney Orr, Insider.com, Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com. Boy, we got a lot to get to today. On our first show of 2025,
hey, Happy New Year.
He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight in Boone, North Carolina, in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, folks, you got to take advantage of the incredible holiday savings at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where they sell America's best-selling truck for 50 years in a row, the F-150. And you can get an F-150 at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP and no payments for 90 days. Hundreds to choose from. Your F-150 is on the lot right now. Also, F-150 Lightnings. $15,000 off MSRP and 0% APR for 72 months. What about the stylish Ford Bronco? Up to $10,000 off MSRP, starting as low as $34,990. And it started it all with the Ford Explorer. You can get one for up to $8,000 off MSRP, as low as $33,900 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. Folks, Stivers Ford is loaded with cars, trucks, and SUVs priced to sell. Stivers Ford, 4000 Eastern Boulevard in Montgomery, where price sells cars. Okay, welcome back in, everybody. About 18 minutes past the hour on this beautiful Thursday. I knew Tobias was going to be up early today, Barry. Yeah. He sent several chats today, and I knew he'd be have some thoughts about Milroe and the Tide.
Yeah, he has been one of those. And you know, not to jump on Milroe, but
oh, well, why not?
It's different. It feels different for what you and I do, because in the past I've always been, these are young people, you don't need, but he's making millions of dollars, and there's bound to be some accountability there, right? I don't feel as bad about criticizing a young person when he's making a lot more money than I am. But there's. What do we think about this? Again, we're going to talk about all of them, but this is such a head scratcher. I want some of you to help me make sense. Michigan wins it 19-13. And again, it ain't the same Michigan team that beat Alabama to begin 2024. They had nobody they had very few people that were legitimate starters on that team. Yeah, they had, again, they ended up playing Alex Orji, who cannot throw the football, at quarterback, a running back who had 8 snaps all year long, and Alabama was cool with it. What does this mean? Our buddy Travis Ryer, at Travis Ryer, right after the game, he said this. Michigan, again, they're defending national champions. He said Michigan sustained some semblance of culture. Alabama did not. And you know, Travis, he's not the most incendiary person in the world. He's not going to get on screaming and yelling and all that. He's very clinical about his breakdown of the games. Michigan sustained some semblance of culture. Alabama did not. Is he right? Is that legit? What do you think?
Was that Michigan team? Excuse me. And I think the head coach mentioned it after the game, talking about the win. Very close-knit, very tight. Even though they had some opt-outs and it was a totally different team that won the national title, this team was close. And I'm not sure Alabama's team's ever been close all year. You know, so somebody mentioned to me, you know, has Milroe held this team hostage for 2 years? You know, has it all been about him? And people, you know, there again, I think there's just a lot of chinks in the armor in Tuscaloosa. And maybe what Travis is saying there is that this Michigan team seemed to be a better, tighter unit as a team than Alabama. And I wouldn't disagree with that.
With that being said, I'd love to know your opinion on this, because this kind of rubbed me wrong. Milroe was Milroe. I mean, I didn't. Whenever he doesn't play well, he does it right. I mean, there was just nothing there on offense. But in terms of culture and team being tight-knit, would Julio do this? Would Amari Cooper do this? Would Devontae Smith do that? Because I thought it was a bad look when you're looking at culture and talking about that. There was a simple swing pass to the left side in the second half to Ryan Williams. And Milroe didn't deliver it well. It went over Ryan's head. It was maybe, 4 or 5 yards downfield, just a simple out pattern. Went over his head. He leaped up, went through his hands. And when it was over with, when the play was over, Jeremy Bernard did the same thing on a couple of throws that weren't made. Ryan Williams is going, or Bernard is open in the end zone. There's a couple of times he was open, and Milroe never saw him for whatever reason because he was wide open. And Jeremy Bernard's going.
And
again, is that an Amari thing? Was Julio? I mean,
the broadcasters even brought that up.
Yeah,
they mentioned it. And I'm thinking right then and there, if the players are making those type of gestures, why not put another quarterback in there? I mean, to me, that's telling the coach, I mean, you got to give us some help out here. This guy's not getting it done. And you wonder, is there respect across that offensive line, in that backfield, in the wide receiving core? Are they playing as hard as they really can, knowing that maybe I'm a little frustrated with this guy that's calling the plays, that's taking the snaps? You kind of wonder. I'm certainly not pinning it all on that, because
no, it's a lot more.
Running attack, zero. I can't imagine any of these guys coming back, but it looks like they are. Maybe I don't know what the game plan is. Maybe they know something I don't. But there again, going up against a team that had double-digit opt-outs, and you still cannot run the football. To me, Barry, teams have figured Alabama out. I mean, I think that's the big reason. I mean, however many opt-outs Michigan had and how many star players they were without, to me, what happened is the Michigan coaching staff won that game for them. It wasn't so much the players. They just figured Alabama out.
Back to your original point, opening the segment about Tobias. Tobias is active this morning. He said on our River Region Straw Chat line, he says, quote, "Everything I said about Milroe rang true. How can we blame the coaches when the quarterback turned the ball over on 3 consecutive drives?" the only blame I have for the coaches is even I tend towards let's get things right with what we got. Even I would have made a change. Somebody, something. John, is Ty Simpson that bad where they didn't even consider it? Just something. Tobias also said the team had too many penalties under Saban. They had discipline issues, but the difference is that they won, so no one said a thing. Remember, the team had a mutiny under Saban because they wanted Milroe. What?
Well, that was after the South Florida game.
The team had a mutiny because who started that game? Tyler Buckner, right?
Yeah, sure did.
Forgot all about that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, he says, does anybody?
And that's when the attitude issues. Well, they probably didn't start, but that was one of the highlights of the Milroe attitude. That there again, I mentioned the week of the Oklahoma game this year. It sprung up yet again. I don't know. There again, I just think for all parties involved, Milroe needs to pack his bag, whether he's going to the NFL or transfer. And I don't think, they just need to say, Jalen, it's been great, but it's time for you to move on.
Ooh. Well, also, of course, I got a chance. I spent the full day here yesterday, didn't have a game or anything, so I got a chance to watch a lot. An absolute phenomenal game in Atlanta for Texas and Arizona State.
Great game.
Absolutely. Cam Scatterbo. Hey, man, salute.
Yeah.
Texas wins that game into overtimes, 39-31. Scatterbo was amazing. He threw a touchdown pass. He caught a long pass to set up another touchdown. He was throwing up on the sidelines and still was able to just be. He was the best player on the field.
Oh, yeah.
Texas wins it 39-31. Arizona State throws a late interception to end the game. Thank gosh it didn't go to that, had to take a 2-point conversion every time.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about going to the semis, and you're doing that. I'm glad I didn't get to that. Also, Ohio State, big over Oregon. It was 31-0 at one point. Ohio State will take on Texas Friday, a week from tomorrow, January 10th in the Cotton Bowl.
In
Penn
Dallas,
State will take on the winner of Notre Dame, Georgia, which plays this afternoon at 3:00. Did they?
Barry, I don't know how Ohio State lost 2 games. I think they're the best team. I think they're going to win it all. Said it last week. There again, how they lost 2 games is amazing. But Bama fans, if you watch that game last night from Pasadena, that's what football's turning to. And Herb Street and Fowler talked about it. Whatever Ohio State paid to build that team, $20 million, whatever it was. And they talked about Caleb Downs all night long.
He gave him a lot to talk about, John.
You know what, Bama fans? He used to be yours. And you're going to have more of that type stuff happening.
Yeah.
If you don't keep up. And that's what Greg Byrne was doing 3 or 4 weeks ago. Was it panic? Maybe. Maybe that was too strong of a word for me to use. But, folks, that's where it's heading. And they're going to start cherry picking your best players. Were people after Ryan Williams? Rumor was they were. Obviously, Mbakwe somebody was after him.
Right.
But that's going to continue to happen. And Barry, as I watched that game last night, and I heard them over and over and over talk about Caleb Downs, and all I could think about was, Bama, get ready.
Yeah.
Because unless you step up to the plate, you're going to have more of that type stuff happening.
And again, bear in mind, I mentioned this earlier this week. The transfer portal, the transfer portal can do what it wants to do. It closed on the 28th, but you've got a 5-day window to enter the transfer portal after your team plays a bowl game. And if you're a graduate, you can transfer anytime you want to. You can enter the portal anytime you feel like it. And there's another transfer portal that'll open up right after spring. So it ain't like you're free and clear now or anything like that. The Notre Dame Georgia game this afternoon at 3:00 in a semifinal. That game's at 3 because they didn't want to move the Gator Bowl. Is that right?
I believe so.
They didn't want to fool around with Duke and Ole Miss, which was originally scheduled at 6:30. Could you not flip-flop that game? Because
I
it's a college football quarterfinal between two helmet teams, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be at work at 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. Huh.
Yeah, Barry, I don't know. I'm with you, because they're both ESPN's doing them both.
Correct.
So they can make that decision. I don't know, and we'll get into this a little bit more after the next break. I don't know if for security reasons they wanted people going to the Dome during daylight hours. I do not know. I got to tell you, Barry, from what I've seen and heard, my wife has some friends that were in New Orleans, Georgia fans. I'm really surprised they're playing the game today. I know it's got to be played, but I'm a little surprised even this soon after what had happened. But that's the only thing I can come up with is maybe they just didn't want to disrupt everything in Jacksonville. No, there's no disruptions in the afternoon. You're still in the daylight hours and things of that nature. But in the grand scheme of things, Barry, it really doesn't matter. What's more important is what happened on Bourbon Street and in the French Quarter. They could be playing it at 8 o'clock this morning. At this juncture, I don't really think the kick time really matters much. And I wonder how many people are going to elect not to go to the game. That's
a valid point. When we come back, conversation with Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com. In about a half hour.
Well, that'll be in the next hour.
Oh, okay.
He's going to join us in the next hour today. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. There we go. We'll do that. So, what do you think? Let's get it out there. There's semifinals, Texas and Ohio State, a week from tomorrow. Penn State versus either Notre Dame or Georgia. That semifinal will be a week from today. We've had blowouts in the college football playoff. We've had some really, really good games. The best game was Texas and Arizona State. That may have been the best game I've seen all year long.
And Barry, late in the game, I'm hearing Jesse Palmer go, Arizona State's got to pick it up. They're down 14. They got a lot of time on the clock. The next thing I know, I'm going, whoa, geez, they just tied the game up. What's going on here? So, it was that was a great fourth quarter.
And again, we want to put a bow on this season for Alabama. They end up, this was, and I was noticing a lot of this. This was prevalent in social media. Again, there's a lot of national people who were really enjoying pointing out
things like this. It just wasn't national people. When we get back from this break, I'll enlighten you on what PM had to say about Alabama's game against Michigan.
Philip Marshall?
Yeah. Huh. He even chimed in on it. He jumped, he piled on.
Our compatriot Pat Smith points this out. He does some work at Pat Smith Radio on X.
Oh, yeah, I love that guy.
He's a great guy. He's been a guest. He says Nick Saban was 135-3 as a double-digit favorite at Alabama. Nick Saban, I'll say it again. Nick Saban was 135-3 as a double-digit favorite at Alabama. Kalen DeBoer is now 6-3.
Man,
as a double-digit favorite.
That is Pat did some research there. I mean, he had to do some digging to get those numbers.
Yeah, let's take a break.
Good work there, Pat. Awesome.
Glad to have you with us, not just today, but in the new year. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, this is Barry McKnight from Longshore and McKnight, telling you about our friends at River Region Straw. You're not buying sticks or stems and pine cones. You're buying premium long needle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River region, full of color, that'll last all season long. They've got locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small. From a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load, River Region Straw also has seasoned firewood for the cold days and nights ahead. Pickup is available, and your order can be delivered if you like. They can even spread your pine straw if that's what you want to have happen, for sure. Call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw and firewood needs at River Region Straw.
Heads, or tails, kick or receive, with the wind or against the wind. Buy your friend a Bud Light. Buy a stranger a Bud Light. Go to your team's bar. Go to the opposing team's bar. Buy around during the next truck commercial. Buy around during the next talking duck commercial. If you're truly up for whatever this weekend, grab the perfect beer for whatever happens. Crisp, refreshing Bud Light. Make 2 plans and let the NFL coin toss make the call. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. They're licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. About 24 minutes to the top of the hour on this Thursday. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Rodney Orr, the Tighter Insider, at the top of the hour. Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, at the bottom of the next hour. A lot of people on the River Region Straw chat line wondering where Bob from Pike Road is this morning. I kind of am too. Wow.
Hey,
Bob,
he's probably enjoying some family time.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Barry,
no, that's what that means. Okay, because John Midkiff says, where is Boob from Pike Road and Danielle from Redneckville after the Bama beatdown? I'm thinking, who in the those guys.
Danny from Margaritaville still must be ringing in the new year. We have not heard from Danny in a while. Tobias, did Jalen Milroe finish 6th in the Heisman voting?
He did not. The Army quarterback, Bryson Daly, did.
Okay.
He's asked that a couple of times. And so I looked it up, top of my head. I don't know who finished 6th.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bryson Daly finished 6th ahead of Shadur Sanders in 8th, and right behind Cam Scadaboo for Arizona State in 5th place. Yeah. JJ in Atlanta says, I'm questioning Coach Kalen how he can lose 4 games and not give Ty Simpson a chance. I don't necessarily know that it's because Ty Simpson isn't very good. I don't know if he's very good. I don't know if he's terrible. You just never got a chance to see him. I'm only thinking, and you think about when Saban substituted out Jalen Hurts and substituted in Tua in the national championship game. There was a lot more at stake. I guess that matters. But sometimes, John, I know he said this. John suggested this to Charles Lee every once in a while. How about just changing something up just for the sake of changing it up? Yeah, I know Mike Turk is killing it at quarterback, but he looks like he needs a break. You don't want to wear him down.
Let's loosen things up a little bit. Have a little fun. Let's just loosen the reins.
Try something. Because nothing was working after the absolute abomination that was the first quarter down in Tampa. Boy, if he didn't do anything then, he was never, ever going to do anything after that.
So,
that was
Barry, what do you think Ty Simpson's thinking? I mean, I thought about that. I'm thinking, if they already told Ty, you're our man next year. I know you've been patient. I know you've paid your dues. Just hold on. You are going to be QB1 in 2025. I mean, unless they've told him that, what is Ty Simpson doing? I mean, I admire his dedication, and I'm staying with it. This is the promise I made 3 years ago, whatever, and I'm going to stick to it. I mean, that's great, but this is a new day and age of college football. So unless they've made some promises, I'm with you. He's got to be one of the most frustrated players in college football. And then the other quarterbacks, for that matter, probably thinking, maybe give me a shot as well. And, there again, is he going to be QB1? I mean, I think everybody assumes that's going to be the case. Is Bama going into the transfer portal in the spring and trying to snag a quarterback? It seemed like it would be a little late for that, but who knows?
If you can get him in the spring, that would be the critical thing.
Yeah.
And people keep talking about Austin Mack, the transfer who came with DeBoer from Washington. And, of course, I noticed in an interview with Keelan Russell, who was playing in the Under Armour All-American game, I think, this weekend, somebody was asking him about, what they're telling him in Alabama. He says, they're telling me they want me to be the starting quarterback as soon as possible. He's going to give every chance. So maybe it's him. Maybe there have been assurances made.
Well, there again is
Donahue was coaching.
Looking at the roster, well, he coached defense.
Yeah. He still recruited Bo, even though he was a defensive coach.
Why do you have a defensive coach recruiting an offensive player? Anyway,
let's not get off track here. Yeah. Okay, right.
You got a coach there, and I'll ask the question again. Is Kalen DeBoer a game manager? Is he an offensive guru? Is he a manager like Saban and Kirby, or is he an offensive guru like Sark or Kiffin? I don't see either one of them. I've seen 13 games, and I haven't seen it yet. So what is it that really Kalen DeBoer does? Well, what makes him so unique and different?
What's his identity?
Can somebody answer that for me? Because I haven't seen 13 games.
He's won a lot everywhere he's gone. Wherever Division III, Division II. He won when he was on the staff at Indiana under Tom Allen, when Womack was the D coordinator there and he was the O coordinator. I'm at a loss. This was tailor-made.
This. And I know there's a lot of changes that are going to happen, but based on who's coming back and the schedule that's in front of you, got to go to Georgia, got to go to Auburn, got LSU, who the broadcasters could not gush and rant and rave enough about how great LSU has done in the transfer portal.
They have done well.
For key positions, you got LSU, you got Tennessee, you know the schedule. Does Bama fan really today, and there again, there's a lot of water under the bridge between now and the opener in Tallahassee in late August, but does Bama fan really think it's going to be any better next year? Really? I mean, can you say that today? We're going to be a heck of a lot better than 9-4 next year. I can feel it.
I think 9-4 is doable, but I don't. It's a different age. You and I used to be able to click down our list of things that are important, and they got this guy coming back. We don't know who's not going to be there. We don't know who's new is going to be there. Don't know what it's going to look like. Still trying to get a grip, a firm grip on who this coaching staff is, and whether they have the wherewithal to dig in and make some of the changes that they need to make. Can you sit Milroe when you've got alums that are chipping in and paying him 7 figures? And most of these alums are people who have gotten their money either by inheriting it or by making good, solid business decisions. And like any good businessman, John, like all of our clients here on this, they want to know, hey, what's the return I'm getting on my investment? Well, Longshore and McKnight has lived up to that, for all of our advertisers. You're getting a lot. But some of them are probably saying, some of the alums who are pitching in on this NIL is saying, hey, man, you had me give $200,000 and my guy that I bought ain't even playing? Come on now. I mean, I'm paying him $200,000 to sit the bench. No, you got to play him. I wonder how much of that there is.
Let me ask you this, Barry. Again, we only have a sample size of 13 games. But there again, through 13 games, what do we know about Kalen DeBoer? I've asked that question a couple times already. Game manager, offensive guru, I don't see either one.
Motivator, master motivator.
Is Kalen DeBoer a guy that can get his team up to win the big game, Georgia, LSU, and lose the game that he has no business losing, Vanderbilt, Michigan? Kind of reminds me of another Alabama coach. Want to take a guess who that might have been? Let me give you a guess.
Big game.
Beats Penn State, loses to Memphis.
Oh, no. Here, this early in the new year, you're bringing out the Bill Curry card and slapping it on the table.
I'm just
Too
asking.
Too soon, John.
I'm just asking, ladies and gentlemen. The chat line's open.
Yeah. What do you think?
Can win the big ones, but then trips up against the Memphises of the world. Back then, it was Memphis State. It wasn't Memphis.
And so today, to start out the new year, Alabama doesn't have another football game until, August the 31st or something like that.
Yeah. We asked Luke's. They lose, it's going to be a long spring and summer.
And it is, again, because of the manner in which they lost. Michigan was barely above average during the year. They absolutely could not throw the football. Didn't all year long. The ReliaQuest Bowl is not an outlier. That's the way they looked all year. They had opt-out after opt-out. This defensive guy is going to the NFL. This lineman, I think their entire defensive line opted out or something like that. And they led from the start with a ton of help from Alabama. I get that. A ton of help from Alabama. Like more help than I've ever seen any team give another team in the first quarter of a football game. I get that. But that's Alabama's fault. And now everybody wants the quarterback gone. Everybody is looking and saying, man, we gotta figure out the running back room. Who all in the world are you losing along the offensive line? How many guys are going to be back on defense, and who are you getting new on defense? There are a jillion questions, and John, the fans are going to have to deal with those questions and ask themselves those questions in the middle of a firestorm of national media that is going to be piling on like you never saw before in your whole life, because Alabama fans have been a little insufferable about, well, we deserve to be in the playoff. SMU, Indiana, Alabama could beat both of those teams. Well, the reason why Alabama did not get in was because, more than anything else, just how lackluster they looked against Oklahoma. And guess what? That's what you got in the bowl game. So you got a lot of people who've been waiting for a long time to pile on to Alabama. It's their first single-digit win season in 17 years. So Bama fans, you're going to have to wear that while some of these difficult questions.
And no doubt about it. These people have been chomping at the bit. And Bama fans shouldn't be surprised by that. People have been waiting. I compare it to the Ralph, Frank, Curtis, Punja, all that crowd. They'll start slowly trickling back in because of Alabama's demise. Same thing with national and regional media. They've been waiting on it. And I've seen this happen so many times over a 30-year period. And quite frankly, that's what makes it fun and interesting. That's why I like it. But, I heard Nick Saban say something, Barry, on game day, and I thought it was a pretty poor excuse. Don't tell the world that, if you're not playing in the playoff, it's kind of hard to get your team motivated. Well, you know what? That's why the coach is making $10 million to get his team motivated to play. And yeah, I know Alabama went and played Utah and went and played Oklahoma and didn't show up and just kind of went through the motions. But I also saw them beat the hell out of Michigan State and Michigan and Kansas State in bowl games that didn't mean anything. So, Nick, don't get up on that set and say, well, it's kind of hard to get your team ready to play when you thought you were going to the playoffs. Did you really think you were going to the playoffs after you got embarrassed in Norman? I didn't understand that. I don't understand why he used that analogy and excuse for what happened in Tampa.
Yep. So this is the state of college football that we are in. There are no bowl games, no college football playoff games anyway, over the weekend. I mean, there's the Bahamas Bowl on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. That's it. That's it on Saturday or Sunday. They don't want to get involved with going up head-to-head in Week 18 of the NFL schedule. There are 2 games today. College football playoff quarterfinal in the Sugar Bowl at 3 on ESPN. Notre Dame versus Georgia. Anybody surprised? What I'm seeing here is Notre Dame favored by a point.
Huh. That line has moved, Barry.
A lot.
And I don't know. Yeah, obviously it's a horrific and unusual situation. I don't know why that would have had any effect on the line moving.
As an advantage to one school over another.
Yeah. Georgia is starting a quarterback that has not started a game ever. Came in some mop-up duty.
Right.
So we'll talk a little bit about that when we get back. I know we'll have a little time before Rodney joins us at the top of the hour. So what do you say we take a quick time out? We'll touch on that. Along with all the other sports action that's going on in the world. Unless you want to continue talking about Bama's demise, it's completely up to y'all.
Not against it. Notre Dame, Georgia at 3. Duke and Ole Miss tonight at 6:30. Ole Miss is almost an 18-point favorite. Those are your 2 games today. We'll talk about it. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
Some days you hit snooze, but not today. Today you have to go on a run to get burgers for the tailgate. You've got to haul something heavy. A cooler stocked with Bud Light. When you've got beer and football, nothing is hard. Until the other team scores. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus, copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
All righty, welcome back in, everybody. A couple of minutes to the top of the hour. Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, going to join us at that time. Barry, I'm sure as you and so many other people out there have had New Orleans on their minds and in their hearts and in their prayers since finding out what happened as we all got up yesterday morning. Certainly I wasn't up at that hour of the morning when this all happened, but just an horrific scene there in the French Quarter on Bourbon Street. And the only thing the saving grace is this didn't happen at the stroke of midnight when right. Bourbon Street was just packed shoulder to shoulder. But 10 people lost their lives. And then later in the day, we hear it's 15, could be right. more this morning. I have not checked. And I've ever since 9/11, every time I've been in the Quarter, I've always thought about, man, this is an easy target. And I know there's a lot of police and state troopers and security personnel in the Quarter, and why they did not there again. I know there's a lot of construction going on, preparing for the Super Bowl coming up in a couple of weeks, but why in the world for a an event, a New Year's event, big bowl game, that they did not have those steel barriers up that I've seen time and time and time again since I've been down there. Why they were not up and at maximum ability is just beyond me. I do not understand that, but it has happened, and just stick by it all. And I know a lot of people's hearts are heavy today.
Well, mine is for sure. I have been to that spot dozens and dozens of times. Big shout out to the law enforcement officers and first responders. There were a lot of them out there, which was a saving grace. A couple of the officers took fire because of that. I'm always going to support them because, among other things, my son is a law enforcement officer. And I get why you don't play the Sugar Bowl after that. John, it was still an active crime scene. I mean, they found evidence of IEDs elsewhere in New Orleans. You know, there were nobody knew what was going on. Still, people are investigating and trying to figure out exactly what. So I totally get that. It was the right thing to do. I don't understand extremists like that at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't understand.
And I'm sure they have swept the Superdome with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah. And, for the teams themselves, which is not the most important thing, the teams and the fans, both teams were on lockdown. Georgia's hotel was just off of Bourbon Street. It was downtown. Same thing. Same thing with Notre Dame's. The fans didn't go out yesterday. Most of them, sat in hotel lobbies and watched the Texas-Arizona State game and the Ohio State-Oregon game and all that. So it's absolutely the right thing to do to everybody say, let's make sure everything's safe here before we send 72,000 fans into an enclosed space. So
just
go out to them. Goodness gracious.
Definite difficult situation. There again, what happens on the field of play is not important in the grand scheme of things. I think we all certainly know that. But they will play that game at 3:00 this afternoon. You mentioned the Duke Ole Miss game. The Gator Bowl will play tonight as well. And of course, the NFL will wrap up its final week of the regular season this weekend as well. That might even be on the topic, Will, if we get around to that today. We'll see. And you sent me a text when the Bama game started and they're down 12 or whatever. Yeah, I'm not sure the ratings are going to be real good for that game.
I was wondering about that because John was curious as to what the ratings would be for that game versus the ratings for, say, what did we say? Arizona
Penn State, Boise.
Penn State and Boise. Yeah, correct. That was the Tuesday night game. I don't, I'm thinking about it both ways. Number one, it was not a very exciting game. I mean, there were not chills and spills and like the Texas-Arizona State game, and there were not huge, big plays like in the Ohio State-Oregon game. It was really poorly played. Michigan just kept running it to very little effect, except for that one walk-on kid. And Alabama was playing terribly. But yet at the end, I got to imagine that the ratings were pretty good for that people who may not have been watching it early were watching it at the end just to see if Alabama did indeed lose. There's a lot of people rooting for Alabama nationwide. Ratings might have been helped by the fact that Alabama fell behind double digits before, everybody got the kinks out. Ooh, let's watch the Crimson Tide going down. Maybe the ratings helped because Alabama was playing so badly and was,
be interesting to see how they what they will be when the ratings do come out. I got to tell you, man, I know you grew up in Florida. I've spent a lot of time down there as well. I was blown away how hard it was raining, and then 10 minutes later the sun was shining.
Yeah, Yeah. If you, it's like to paraphrase Mark Twain: if you don't like the weather, then just wait 5 minutes. And it's in a spot where, it comes off the Gulf, and when it comes, it really comes. But when it's done, it's done. And that was a part of it. I mean, I'm sure it was. It was certainly a part on the fumble at the beginning, on the snap that went right through Milroe's hands and hit him in the chest. Maybe had something to do with the strip sack, that got him in position. It didn't have anything to do with the interception, I don't think. That was a terrific play by the kid on a not very good throw. And again, Michigan was playing in that same weather.
Bears, I watched really Ohio State. I'm very impressed with them. And I think they're really, really good. And as I watched them last night, I'm looking and I'm at that team and I'm going, Alabama doesn't look close to this team. And then I thought back to some of the dominant Alabama teams that under Nick Saban, and I thought, that year's team, that looked like this Ohio State team. And that year's team did too. And then so I'm thinking about several teams in the Saban era.
Right.
I don't see that type of team. I don't see the type of player. I don't see them coached the same way. And it's just different. And the dominating roster that Alabama had for so many years under Saban, it does not look like what I saw with Ohio State last night.
Well, again, Alabama, 10 minutes into the ball game, they're down 13-0 with, I think, 3 turnovers. They end the first quarter down 16-0. They finally score 25 minutes into the game. They made it close at the end, but didn't have enough. Alabama ends the year 9-4 with, again, 3 losses during the year to teams they were a double-digit favorite over. We need to get some perspective on all this, John.
Yep. Our man Rodney Orr joins us. He is, of course, brought to you exclusively by our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Start off the new year with some great fresh seafood from the Destin Connection. Of course, David's been telling us he's got the raw oysters for you in the shell, or they'll have them shucked in pints for you. Shrimp, they got medium, large, and jumbo, peeled, deveined. They can boil them and cook them up for you. And any type of seafood item you may imagine, he has got it in the showcases. 3750 Norman Bridge Road, or call ahead 288-4272. Your order will be ready for pickup. Just go to the drive-through window. Yep. How about that grilled grouper po' boy for lunch today? That would be outstanding from the Destin Connection Seafood Market.
Well, Rodney Orr joins us here. Again, we were trying to get some perspective in our experience, whether or not, Rodney, the first quarter, the first 10 minutes of the first quarter of the ReliaQuest Bowl was the worst any of us had ever seen Alabama play. You've been watching them for a long, long time. Give us some perspective on that game. You've got free reign to take it wherever you want to go. Your takeaways from the whole thing, Rodney.
Well, first of all, Happy New Year, right?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Man, it's good to be on. Good to be on with you guys. I got to get warmed up here, Barry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's a great way of putting it. I don't know that I've ever seen a worse start in a game than what we saw the other day. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole thing. Just the performances this year, I think, against Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Michigan, especially. And it really, to be honest with you guys, this is just my perspective. First of all, I heard John's lead in, and I do agree. What we saw with Ohio State last night is a team that we used to kind of see with Nick Saban. Now, this is not all on DeBoer. He just got here. The roster had slipped under Saban. With the portal, NIL, all of the culture that I think Nick Saban built was beginning to erode to some extent. So a lot of this is just part of the current wave that we're going through, I think. I think it's up to DeBoer to kind of get a grip on this thing, get the personnel that he needs for his system, get the coaching staff. If there's any questions about anybody on your staff, or if you feel like you need to make a change, now's the time to do it, because the clock is ticking, starts ticking now on the future of this program. So I really think he's got to do that. I really think too, and this is just my thought. You guys may think it's silly or whatever, but I think, Coach Saban always had a message. Great coaches always have a message. And I think Coach DeBoer really needs to kind of start sending some messages in his press conferences, the things that he says. I mean, Alabama fans are pretty smart. They know what good football is. They know what bad football is. I'll give this to Bill Curry. At least he knew how to use the word, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. And what we saw sometimes this year was unacceptable. And I'm sure DeBoer feels the same way. So hopefully moving forward, we'll see him make some strong moves that he feels are necessary. And, look forward to seeing next year. With all that said, let me just quickly say this.
Okay.
I understand it's a difficult transition. It is the most difficult transition certainly since Coach Bryant left, in my opinion. And I'm talking about in college football in general. It's a tough transition. First years can be really, really difficult. I give him that. I give him that. And, let's see what happens moving forward.
Rodney, you've kind of been touching on those same comments over the last couple of weeks that we've had you on, that, you got to take a stand. If you got to make changes, now's the time to do it. If you need reinvent your staff, now's the time to do it. I get that. I'm with you. You've kind of been there again, hinting at that over the last couple of weeks, that there needs to be some changes, whether it's with staff, whether it's with personnel, who knows. But 13 games in to the Kalen DeBoer era at Alabama. And I'm looking at it thinking, well, is DeBoer a game manager like Saban and Kirby, or is he an offensive guru like Sark and Kiffin? I can't figure out which one he is.
Well, and here's the thing too. We all see Coach Saban, Nick Saban, is perfect. There were some real snafus in his deal too. The thing is, he won. He won. The bottom line was he won. But some of his game management wasn't really good. We saw him mismanage timeouts and so forth and so on. But I only say that to say, hey, nobody's perfect. But in this game too, there's been some times maybe this year where I do think some things have been mismanaged. First of all, I don't understand in this last game why right off the bat you go for it on fourth down. You basically give Michigan a field goal to start the game. There was another time when it was maybe questionable later in the game. You guys may remember Alabama shunned a field goal opportunity, went for it on 4th and 7. And I think, okay, if you've got Michael Penix, or you got Tua, or you got Bryce, or you've got a quarterback you can trust, then you maybe go for it. But when you got a guy who is erratic, and that's really the only way you can call it, right? That's just being honest. Yeah. Then you may want to play a little more conservatively, punt the football down. Michigan's got a quarterback in Alex Orji. All he can do is run. It made it really easy for the defense, to me. And I'll say this too. I know I'm rambling here. People start talking about the defense played great, and I thought they did play really well. Look, I give them a ton of credit. They had their backs to the wall. They held Michigan to field goals. They did a fantastic job. I think Kane Womack did a really good job this year overall for the most part. Yeah, there were some bad moments, but they got better. He kept hammering at it. But you know what? When it was needed there in the fourth quarter, Michigan bled 6 minutes off the clock, running it right at that defensive front.
Right, which they knew they were going to do.
They had no other choice but to run it. right? And I still think Alabama's got to get mentally tougher, physically tougher, sound on that defensive line. Start becoming more dominant up front. And I won't just say that about the defensive line. I'll say that about the offensive line too. They've got to step it up a notch at the line of scrimmage. But with all that said, I'll say this. And John, you may have been preparing to ask me about Jalen Milroe. I'm just going to say this about when we look at the whole season. This is what I really think. If they had adequate quarterback play, I think Alabama could have been undefeated. I'm not saying they were a great team, but I'm not putting the Vanderbilt game on Milroe. He made some mistakes in that game, but I thought he played pretty well for the most part. But Tennessee was a really bad performance. Oklahoma was a horrendous performance. And you know what? This one might have been worse. So
does that not go back to the coaching staff, Rodney? Because I'm not sure they could have been undefeated, but I think they would have been a heck of a lot better than 9-4.
Yeah. Again, I don't think they'd have been undefeated too, but I think with really good quarterback play, they could have been. I think they'd have been in the playoffs. But does it go back to coaching? Well, DeBoer's they've got a reputation of developing quarterbacks. Saban had Milroe for 3 years. I don't think, honestly, Milroe's marginally better now than he was when he took that snap to start against Texas A&M in place of Bryce Young against Texas A&M in 2022. I don't think he's marginally better. And what I mean by that is he's making the same mistakes. Is he making more throws here and there? Yeah. But don't forget, in that game, John and Barry, in that Texas A&M game, Milroe turned the ball over 3 times in that game. He also threw 3 touchdown passes in that game. So, yes, it's still feast or famine with him. Now, I don't know, how much more a coaching staff can do.
Were you surprised personally that at some point they didn't sub him out in the Michigan game?
No, actually, Barry, I'm surprised with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter against Oklahoma, they didn't sub him out. And that's just being honest.
Yes.
I mean, he was rattled. He was hurting his team. And the effort or the lack of effort on that, trying to tackle the guy running down the sideline when he tried to trip him. And I thought Jalen needed some, he needed some time on the sideline. And again, it's not saying bench him, but I say, okay, Jalen, you need to settle down. We got to settle you down. I want you to just take a step back, take a deep breath, and put Ty in there for a series or 2, see how he responds. You got to win the game. And they talk about loyalty, John and Barry, loyalty to your quarterback. Yes, he did some really good things, and he stuck with us when we got here. I get all that. But you got to perform. And guess what? Loyalty isn't about one player. It's about you got to be loyal to your team. You got to be loyal to those other 84 guys out there, right? They're working hard to win, to compete, to execute. You look at Ryan Williams, you look at Jeremy Bernard, those guys are throwing their hands in the air like I'm wide open. I mean, the ball's 10 yards over my head. So again, I'm not knocking Milroe. He did a lot of really, really good things. It's just sometimes there comes a time for a split.
You touched on something and you just hit on it. And I was going to ask you about it. You mentioned Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams. We touched on that in the first hour. I think there were other players on that offense that kind of were going, oh, I've had enough of this. Whether it's offensive linemen, whether it's the running backs, I think they were getting a little frustrated. This guy's hurting us. He's not helping us. And I'm not saying that they, packed it in for the day, but maybe that fire and that effort and that hustle maybe wasn't at maximum effort because they knew their quarterback couldn't hurt. It was hurting them, not helping them.
John, that's happened before, and it's happened in the past. It's you could go down the list of quarterbacks, but here's one problem. Alabama didn't have a Tua waiting in the background. And I said that, last year. when people were complaining, Milroe was the best option in 2023. And you know what? I don't know if he was the best option this year, but he was returning. He had more experience than anyone else. You know, all of those things. So I certainly understand why he was on the field. Don't get me wrong about that. But, you know, and like I said, there was no Tua. But if you go back to 2017, Alabama was kind of lethargic at times offensively. And when they put Tua in the game, there was an energy level that not only you felt or saw from the players, the receivers, you saw it, you felt it in the stadium, in the press box. There's a different level of energy. And that's what I think a quarterback can do for you. A really good quarterback can ignite his teammates. He makes those guys around him play at another level. And you know what? Yeah, they've got to do their part as well. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not throwing it all on Milroe. But, you know, people say, well, the pass protection. Well, there's a lot of things that go into that pass protection, right? The quarterback's got to get the ball out of his hand. He's got to recognize the blitz. He's got to know where the hot receiver is going to be. You know, you got to do all these things. So anyway, with all that said, I think if they can get better quarterback play alone, it would make a big difference.
Handicap with the off season at quarterback. Will Milroe be there? What do you think of Austin Mack? What about Ty Simpson? Keelan Russell was quoted over the weekend as saying, Alabama's coaches have told me they want me to be the number one quarterback as soon as possible. Who's got the inside track?
Yeah, it depends on how you interpret as soon as possible, right? I mean, to me.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But no, yeah, to handicap that, first of all, I expect Milroe to announce he's going to the NFL. That's what I expect. Now, could he change his mind and transfer, hit the portal? Could. I don't expect him back at Alabama under any circumstances. That's just me. Now, again, could that happen? It could. I think probably in the best interest of Kalen DeBoer and his coaching staff and this program right now, and in the best interest of Jalen Milroe. It's probably good timing to move on. And perhaps that's to the NFL. That's what we expect. But with that said, I think Ty Simpson would go into spring, you know, the number one guy. I really do, based on things I've heard, based on the confidence level I think the coaching staff feels that his potential has. So I think Ty would be. The things I hear about Ty are really promising in terms of his ability. We know he's a really good athlete. He moves well. He's got a strong arm. He's accurate. You know, he understands the offense. He does a really good job with that. Now, I'm not saying he's going to step in and there would be growing pains. He's a gunslinger. He's likely to throw interceptions because he is a gunslinger. That's his mentality. He thinks he can make every throw. Then you've got Austin Mack, who's a guy that's got a lot of potential. He's been inconsistent, young player. Again, he's still developing. People forget he should really be in his true freshman year. He's only 18 years old. Now he's already been in college football 2 years, one in Washington, one here. But he's just got to develop consistency and continue to grow as a quarterback. Ton of potential. Keelan Russell, I mean, you know, look, here's the way I look at it. He might be the next Tua. He might be the next Bryce, right? He might be those guys that is ready to come in and take the team to another level right away. I don't know if he is or he isn't. Until he gets here, you just really don't know. Played on a great high school program, won a ton of games, ran up a bunch of stats. He's got height. He's a great athlete. He's a passer first. He understands the passing game. Got all those tools, but this is a different level. I'd sure hate to see a true freshman going into Athens, Georgia in September as a quarterback right now.
Woo,
but
boy,
I may change my mind this spring.
As I'm watching the Rose Bowl yesterday, Rodney, I couldn't count how many times Herb Street and Fowler talked about Caleb Downs. And, of course, he was at Alabama the previous season, and they brought that up as well. And as I heard them repeatedly mention his name, all I could think about was NIL. And they touched on, you know, what Ohio State allegedly paid for this class. And as I heard that over and over again, all I thought about was, Alabama, you better get ready, because this is the new day of college football. And when Greg Burns sends out a letter or an email saying you need to contribute to Yay Alabama, last night in Pasadena is what he's talking about. You know, that team to me looks totally different than Alabama. And if they paid to get it, yeah, they have. That's what they got to do now. Can Alabama keep up with that? Because that's, to me, a totally different football team than what Alabama currently has.
John, listen, I'll be honest with you. I got to be honest with you. I don't know. I mean, I really can't tell you that they're going to go out and do that, raid other teams for their top players. So, I mean, I don't know. And let's not forget, too, Ohio State's playing hot right now. They're playing up to their potential. They lost to Michigan, a downtrodden Michigan team like Alabama did, but even this Michigan team the other day was more depleted, obviously. But, you know, they've been up and down a little bit, Ohio State. But to your point, which I think is correct, I don't know. I get Alabama's recruiting extremely well. They've got a top 2, top 3 class. Really ended up last year when all was said and done and they threw in the portal and they redid the rankings. Alabama had the number 1 class. So they're getting personnel. But let's not forget this. You mentioned the loss of Downs in that secondary. They went out and got Keon Sabb. He got hurt. He got injured. He was doing a really nice job. He's not Downs. But I want you to think about what Alabama lost. They lost Kool-Aid McKinstry, who was basically a first-round talent, went in the second round. They lost Terry and Arnold in the first round. Those are 2 corners, okay? So you lost 2 first-round corners, and you lost a guy with first-round potential safety, right? Then you lost Trey Amos to Ole Miss, who should have been back. All 3 of those corners should have been back. They declared early. But Amos went over to Ole Miss, and now he's probably going to be a first-round draft pick, or he's certainly going to be in second round. I mean, he's a high pick. You lost a lot of talent. They had to replace a lot. So I thought they did a really good job in the secondary. I thought they got some guys. They got Damani Jackson. They recruited Zabian Brown. Those guys made a lot of progress this year. Thought they did a nice job in the secondary. They had some injuries back there. So I'm only saying that to say, John, they got Ryan Williams. He's a difference maker. You got to have a quarterback who can get the ball to him consistently. Jeremy Bernard, a really good player. I think Rico Scott's going to be good. I think they got some guys in recruiting. Latsier Brooks, Derek Meadows. Those guys are going to be really good. I think they need a game-breaking back. I think they need a game-breaking run. And again, John, I say this too. They got to get the line of scrimmage settled more. But I'm with you. I think you have to be careful watching, when a team's peaking like Ohio State is right now, because you get caught up in it. But I have to say, John, I with that said, I'm with you. I mean, they're impressive looking. Now, let me say this real quick, too. I'm going to throw this in.
Okay.
Texas is extremely talented, and they're kind of going in that same route you're talking about that Ohio State's taken. They're recruiting at an extremely high level. They're not probably getting as many guys as transferring in, but they're getting key guys to transfer in. Texas is. They've got a really, really impressive roster themselves.
Yeah.
And the point is, one of the points that John's making is that you got to shell out that money to get those guys. This is the day and age that we live in.
Yeah. I mean, I think, until they get some kind of a structure here, if they're going to get a structure, I don't know what they're going to do. I keep hearing 2 years, and I mean, it's just, I don't know. We'll see, I guess. But they've got to get something together on this. And, again, I think right now it's going to be really interesting. I don't have the answers to what exactly is going to happen with Kalen DeBoer. I think there is one thing I know you guys got to run.
No,
but,
good.
Coaching staff changes.
That was next. I normally don't think about stuff like that during the year, but we mentioned this earlier, and I'm prone towards defending coaches much more than I am attacking them. but you're down 6, end of the game. You got it on the 15, 16, 17-yard line with a quarterback who can run, and you throw 4 straight incompletions. That was the first time I'm thinking, that was not an optimal way to put your team in the best position to have success right there. I thought that they flubbed that with the O coordinator and with the play caller and with DeBoer and all that. Will there be changes on the offensive staff?
Don't know. That's a good question. Here's the thing I'll say.
Okay.
I don't really know how you can judge Nick Sheridan when he's dealing with a quarterback that doesn't match the system. You gotta see that. And Michigan did a great job of shutting Milroe down for the most part. He did pop one run, but they tried to run the edge and he just couldn't get there. Martindale did a great job defensively stopping. They took his legs away and tried to make him a passer. So I understand exactly what you're saying, Barry. I really do. But I think Sheridan was in a tough situation there. Again, it's a tough call. But as far as, coaching change there, I don't know. Kalen, here's the thing. I saw someone else, and I'll credit him. I think it was Mike Rodak, Bama 247. Somebody sent me that he said, Kalen DeBoer is a stay the course guy, not a shake things up guy. And I'm not one of these guys say you go fire everybody. That's not, I understand that's unreasonable. But at the same time, you do have to make some strong evaluations. And you better make them now, because now's the time to do that. Now, if he has any doubt about any coach on that staff, and that's on the field or inside the building, then you need to start making those changes. You got to make tough decisions now. And you know what? There may not be any changes that he feels are necessary. If that's the case, then he needs to stay the course. But if he has a doubt, you better not wait. You better not wait. You better move. Now's the time to move is the way I would say that.
As they say in the seafood business, it's time to fish or cut bait.
Fish or cut bait.
You got to fish or cut bait.
There really is. I do think there's a possibility. And I don't know if it's on the offensive side, but I do think there's probably a coach or two that might have another opportunity. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, we've got the spring and the summer to hash it all out, and we're going to be doing it with our man Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider. Before we let you go, Rodney, let our viewers and listeners know how they can check you out. I know you got the TITV, Tider Insider website, your book as well. And, of course, they can hear a replay of this interview on TI as well. So there's a lot going on. Tell them about it.
Right. It's TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. And you can get instant access with your credit card if you prefer. There is an address there to send a check. Gives you all our premium information, but also our all sports forum. Man, oh man. Ooh. It has been lit up.
Yep.
Lit up.
Rodney, I was actually watching the game and reading TI message board at the same time. It was awesome.
Imagine a lot of people do that. No question about it. Rodney Orr at TiderInsider.com. Look, Happy New Year to you. Thanks for everything you do for this program. Look forward to a great 2025.
Hey, guys, really appreciate it. Y'all take care.
Yep, we'll talk next week. Thank you, Rodney. The Tider Insider, Rodney Orr, brought to you exclusively by our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Open today, tomorrow, and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call ahead for boiled, peeled, and deveined shrimp. Also, your lunch orders, they'll have those prepared for you. A shrimp po' boy, oyster po' boy, grilled grouper po' boy, you name it, with those excellent sides. 288-4272 is the number. That's 288-4272. 3750 Norman Bridge Road, the Destin Connection Seafood Market, bringing you Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, exclusively each and every week.
When we come back, Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com, will join us in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Heads or tails, kick or receive, with the wind or against the wind. Buy your friend a Bud Light, buy a stranger a Bud Light. Go to your team's bar, go to the opposing team's bar. Buy around during the next truck commercial, buy around during the next talking duck commercial. If you're truly up for whatever this weekend, grab the perfect beer for whatever happens. Crisp, refreshing Bud Light. Make two plans and let the NFL coin toss make the call. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust. Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. Their licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. Okay, here we are back at it, about 29 minutes to the top of the hour on this Thursday. And our man Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, joining us here today on our City of Montgomery guest hotline. Jason, Happy New Year. Good morning. Hope you're doing well.
I'm good, guys. I got the Barry White voice this morning with a little bit of a cold, so I got a little.
Barry and I've had that already as well. It is not fun.
It is going around. We appreciate you.
Don't feel too bad. Just sound bad.
Yeah. Which in our business is not good. In yours, it's not optimal either. Catch us up a little bit. I know that December 28th, the portal closed, but there are loopholes and opportunities, and it'll open up again. As of right now, where are the portal wins for Auburn in each position room, and where might there still be some need for talent acquisition?
Yeah, I think you're looking, obviously, quarterback is you kind of turn that room over, and so you think about Jackson Arnold and think about Ashton Daniels, who won't be in until the summer. But you think about those two guys going with Deuce Knight, and you kind of flipped your quarterback room. But, offensive line, offensive tackle especially, but you look at, the wins that you don't count in the portal are Dylan Wade and Jeremiah Wright returning at guard. To think about those two guys adding two new offensive tackles, and you get two tall returning as well. So you've got four of your five, starting offensive linemen returning. Well, at the end of the year, really all five of your guys, because Dylan Wade was back at left tackle and you had Braden Joyner in at guard. Mm-hmm. You now got seven guys returning with offensive line experience there. So I think that's a big deal. Obviously, you add Eric Singleton, a wide receiver, is a big deal. You've added a couple of pieces in the secondary, which is big. The spots now you look and are defensive line, interior defensive line, and probably another veteran linebacker. And you've added a linebacker from LSU in here that played a little bit last year. You'd probably like to have another Dorian Mausi, older guy that's played 3 or 4 years to kind of help you bridge the gap a little bit with DeMarcus Riddick and with these guys you got. That's probably the spots that are left out. Edge, interior, linebacker, to me is the 3 spots.
Well, let me ask you about the edge. I noticed you got the Under Armour T-shirt on, and I didn't really realize this. There's a freshman edge named, help me out. I had it right in front of me. Jared Smith, right?
Yeah, he'll be coming in. Yes.
Yeah, a freshman, an incoming freshman. Boy, they were really, really impressed with him at the Under Armour All-American game this past week.
He is a kid that has kind of come into his own. He was at Spain Park originally, transferred really halfway through his junior year at Spain Park. He didn't play. So he didn't play the end of his junior year, and then at Thompson, having the full strength and conditioning program off season and work with that program and playing the schedule they played, Jared Smith really came on his senior year. He was more of a basketball guy early in his high school career, and he's 6'5", 6'6", but he's 255 pounds. So this is a big guy, but he moves. He's athletic. He can run. A ton of upside. And so when I look at him, I see a little bit of a Keldrick Falk in him, but he's probably a little bit more twitchy than Keldrick was, to be quite honest. Now, I don't think he'll play at 285, like Keldrick has done. He's got the body to do that. I think he'll stay at 260, but in a perfect world, you'd like to see him be what the guys are at Ohio State. When you look out there and you see a 265-pound edge rusher, but a guy that has the power to beat an offensive tackle too. And you watch what you saw last night with 33 creating havoc off the edge with a big body. That's what you see ideally, and maybe in the future, for a guy like Jared Smith.
I'm watching that game last night, Jason. I'm still trying to figure out how Ohio State lost 2 games in the regular season.
Correct.
They just the last 2 games have just looked super impressive. They seem to be playing at the highest level right now. They to me, they look like the team to beat.
That's what a 12-team playoff now allows, is a team that has the most talent. And I think Ohio State is the most talented roster in the country, I believe. If not, they're right there. It allows you to have a hiccup or 2 in the season and still give you a chance to win a national championship. And that's what this has done, because you look at it, and I tweeted this out last night, 24/7, the national guys do it's a blue chip ratio with talent, whatever, however you want to describe it, but the most talented rosters in terms of star power, all those things. Alabama was still number 1, but for me, Alabama was 1 maybe because in certain spots they had a lot of guys, like on the offensive line, for example. They still a really talented roster. I don't think they were as talented at wide receiver and a couple of other spots, but overall they still had a lot of guys. But you look at all the 5 teams left, including that's today. You still got two teams still left. The 3 that have won and the 2 that are still remaining, all 5 of those teams are in the top 11 of the most talented rosters in the country.
And Jason,
it's huge.
A lot of the old school college football fans are lamenting that, in the sense that, Ohio State, they just, got out the shopping cart and they just went down every aisle, and that's what a $20 million recruiting budget does. To me, that's just, whistling in the wind, because that's where we are. This is college football right now.
Well, here's the thing. In a different time, a different way, we've always had that. It's been a different way, but Nick Saban, Alabama, got who they wanted. They had the same roster. They did it a different way, but it was still the same thing. Oklahoma, years back, those guys got who they, Nebraska, they did it a different way too. But Miami in the 80s and then in the early 2000s, those rosters were loaded and stacked. It's always been done. It's just been done a different way now. And quite honestly, you're getting to the same point in the end, but you have more teams that have a chance now, in my opinion, than we've ever had. Now, because you look yesterday, Texas. Texas could have and maybe should have lost that game to Arizona State.
Yeah.
Texas is one of those rosters. We've seen Ohio State. Ohio State is a team that can go back out next week and score 8 points. That we've done that. But I've seen a team now that has figured out, you know what? We got really good players. We better give them the football. And they did that with Jeremiah Smith early in the game, saying, well, we're going to throw it to our best player over and over again. and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what I think they've learned over the course of this. And like you're right though. Until there's a law, something to make it change, this is what it is.
This is it.
And so people have talked about it not everybody. A lot of people said, hey, look, they deserve to get something. Well, when that talk started, if the NCAA had said, hey, here's what we're going to do, then maybe we would have avoided what we have now. They didn't do it. And so they're the only ones to blame at this point, because they could have had a way and maybe created a highway for this to happen. And instead they turned their eye and said, nope, it's never going to happen. Well, they were wrong. And now we're reaping the consequences of it.
Wanted to ask you about this. 12 teams in the college football playoff. You covered Kenny Dillingham. You covered Rhett Lashley when they were at Auburn. Could you see, even back then, the capability to do what they've done as head coaches?
Yeah, I mean, I was around Rhett a lot more, and so I knew that Rhett Lashley was a guy that had all those intangibles, all the qualities. And I think there's a lot of guys that have those same types of qualities and intangibles that don't ever get the opportunity. Because now you look at it and you almost have to be a coordinator, and now you almost have to be an offensive coordinator to really get a shot. Because I think about a guy like Tim Horton. I think Tim Horton in the right situation would be great. I think Charles Kelly is going to be really good in that situation.
That's a good spot. Yeah.
But Kenny Dillingham had the energy. But we talked about it just like with a quarterback, and I wrote this yesterday. Fit is so important. I think for Kenny Dillingham, it was where he got the spot. It was getting the job at Arizona State that made the difference for him, because that's a place he knows, he's passionate about. He knows the people there. He can get the support, all those things. I think as much as anything, just like at quarterback, I think for head coach, sometimes fit is maybe more important than who the guy actually is. And I think the fit's been the most important thing for Dillingham. I think Rhett Lashley is a guy that can do it a lot of different places. I think for Dillingham, it was so important that it was Arizona State.
Yeah, they've both done extremely well. And I thought that about Lashley when he was at Auburn, Jason.
Yeah.
I thought, man, this guy just has the look and just the way he coaches. This guy's got a future. And I could certainly see him moving on to maybe a bigger program than where he currently is.
Yeah, and the thing about it is man, SMU may be the ideal place to be in this world because of the money that's available, because the opportunity, and quite frankly, you're playing in a league that you can go win or be in one of the top 2 or 3. We saw it this year. The competition level is not the same. The SEC, to me, wasn't as good at the top as it has been in the past. I think the bottom's better. And it still doesn't change the argument that it's really difficult to go through this league 12 games and do it. But losing a couple of bowl games doesn't impact my thoughts on how tough a league is. It just doesn't. It never has. It never will. But I don't think it's as good at the top. Like I think Texas is a good football team. I don't think that's a great football team. I think it's a talented team. The same thing with Georgia. I don't think Georgia's as good as they were 5 years ago from top to bottom. Are they still good? Yes, but I don't think they're as good as they were 5 years ago.
Boy, it's hard to sustain what they had 5 years ago. That's
correct. It
sure.
is, and that's the whole point. Is that I don't think you're as deep. Your offensive line is not quite as good. There's certain positions. The defensive front's definitely not as good as it was. It's hard to keep that up when all of a sudden other people can go and get some of those guys too.
Speaking of SEC teams in bowl games, maybe you guys can help me out with this. I saw the replays, but I'm still trying to figure it out. What was it that Brett Bielema did to Shane Beamer? What was that gesture that got Beamer all worked up?
I don't know. There's so many things that those two guys deserved each other for that game. And because apparently I didn't see it. Apparently somebody said that South Carolina did that where you throw your hands out on a kickoff.
Right. Yeah.
You're not going to return it, and then tried to throw it across the field and fake it after they did that and do some stuff. There were a whole bunch of games being played in that game within both sides, and that it basically came down. And hey, it's right now it's within the rules. If you substitute, then the other team can take their time in substituting. Well, South Carolina a couple of times substituted a second time to try to combat their substitution,
right,
well, then you get a chance to substitute again. And so then they're walking guys on the field and you have to call a timeout because you get mad about it.
Yeah.
That's your fault. We said it the whole time. It was my biggest thing. And the biggest thing for me for Gus Malzahn, the biggest thing was he never adjusted to those rules to be able to play tempo, because to play tempo, you got to keep your guys on the field. You can't sub, because I remember standing on the sidelines and Jarrett Stidham was quarterback at Auburn. And they're substituting in Athens. And Georgia's holding guys for a few seconds. And then when it looks like the official's going to move, then they jog their guys on the field. And then they jog their guys off the field. And then Auburn has to burn a timeout. And Jarrett Stidham's going crazy. And they're like, that's it. It's within the rules. And guys are going to bend it, just like laying guys on the field to act like they're hurt. I mean, they're going to use all those things they can at their disposal to throw you off. And I think that's what Illinois did more than anything.
I think that's a good point. Also, you made a good point that I hadn't thought about in that context. I think you wrote it on Saturday. You know, Auburn men's basketball opens what should be the strongest conference maybe ever in the NCAA on Saturday at home against Missouri. And you brought up the point, and I thought about this, that Auburn, one of the keys to Auburn's success so far is that they've been able to play just about any style. If you want to ugly up a game and go half court and physical and bleed the clock, Auburn can play that with you. If you want to get out and run, Auburn's going to do that better than you can. I never thought about it in that sense, but it's a team that's really well suited to play in whatever style the game dictates, right?
Yeah, I thought it was one of the things they even did well last year. And then against Yale, they tried to force tempo and they didn't have to. And I thought it was one of the things that, looking back on it, to me, that was one of the things in the NCAA tournament. I thought, okay, we'll just run a set play every time, because you're still going to be better and you can do those things. They got a little frustrated at times, and I thought he let it bother them. This year, they haven't done that. They've had teams that tried to slow it down. They're like, okay, then we'll go half court. And we'll put, Broom with his back to the basket, and he leads this team in assists. So, if you double him, he'll pass it. If you don't, he'll score. And that's a good spot to be in for a basketball team. And that's what they've been able to do is okay, you do that. Leave Denver Jones open, who's shooting the basketball really well, but Chad Baker-Mazara can shoot it. And, Dylan Caldwell and Janai Broom are really becoming a really comfortable pair on the court together, with Dylan, running to the basket and catching an alley-oop from Broom a couple of times a game. I mean, like, they can play a lot of different ways. And I said it Saturday, as long as they, 1, rebound, and 2, share the basketball. If they rebound and share the basketball, then this is a team that's tough to beat. Now, somebody's going to beat them in this league, because you're going to have nights where you don't shoot it very well and other team lights it up because they're really talented. I don't know how many losses that the champion in this league is going to have, but it sure feels like it's going to be 3 or 4 because it's as tough as it is every night in this league. But I think this is a team that's going to have a chance, because, like I said, they can do it a lot of different ways.
Yes.
They certainly can. Going to be fun to watch as SEC basketball gets cranked up. And I know we'll be talking a lot about that with Jason over the next couple of weeks and months. And you can follow all of Auburn athletics at Auburn Undercover. Jason, let our viewers and our listeners know everywhere they can find you.
Yeah, like I said, check us out at auburnundercover.com, part of the 24/7 network. Got the YouTube channel, all different ways you can find us there. Basketball coverage, portal coverage. It's ramping back up. They'll have some visitors this weekend, including a player that was once an Auburn Tiger to begin with, Jeffrey Emba, defensive lineman from Purdue, who signed with Auburn out of France. He will be back visiting this weekend. A couple other transfer guys expected to visit too. So have coverage of all that as well. And Christian will be heading towards San Antonio here in a few days to be at the Navy All-American game, where we have a bunch of guys that will be participating. So find all that there at auburnundercover.com.
Always appreciate it, Jason. Happy New Year to you, and thank you.
Happy New Year, guys.
You too, buddy. Hope that voice gets better. Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, joining us each and every week. Brought to you by our good friends at the City of Montgomery. Need to know what's going on in 2025? It's easy. Go to montgomeryal.gov for all the information of what's happening in the city and the river region.
Now, somebody texted me a little while ago and said that you screwed up, John.
Well, it won't be the first. Just just this hour.
Well, no, not necessarily that you made a mistake, but you could have done something better than you did. They were referring to the fact when you were talking with Rodney that you were watching bits and pieces of the Alabama game while you were also reading the open forum on TigerInsider.com.
Correct. Yes.
Somebody said, John, man, you messed up. You watched that Alabama game on AuburnUndercover.com's message boards, the Bodegetta, I think it is, the Tiger ticket board.
Okay.
Evidently, that one was pretty lit, as the young kids say,
Barry,
as well.
It was, and I'll admit, I am a member, so it's not like I was lurking.
Yeah.
And
John pays the $9.95 every month. Some of the stuff, John, some of you who know John really well, when he opens up that wallet, that look of pain, that grimace on his face when he pulls some money out, never see that whenever he pays the $9.95 for AuburnUndercover.com. Never second guesses himself on that expenditure.
It's part of my morning routine. Coffee, Auburn Undercover, several other things. So yes, I did go to the Bodegetta message board. I did want to get kind of a feel and reaction. And I got what I was expecting. I mean, I know what I'm
dancing on the grave and all this kind of stuff.
And I mean, it wasn't about
Ding Dong, the witch is dead.
Yeah, it wasn't about opening up SEC basketball play or Jackson Arnold or something like that. It was all about, look at this, isn't this great? Which, yeah, I do like to see what the other side's thinking. So yeah, I checked it out. I did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed that. That was just a slip on my part because I did do that.
Stay with us. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. I'm in Boone, North Carolina. John is in network control. Our final segment coming up in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight presented by Bud Light.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Hey, this is Barry McKnight from Longshore and McKnight, telling you about our friends at River Region Straw. You're not buying sticks or stems and pine cones. You're buying premium long needle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River region, full of color, that'll last all season long. They've got locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small. From a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load, River Region Straw also has seasoned firewood for the cold days and nights ahead. Pickup is available, and your order can be delivered if you like. They can even spread your pine straw if that's what you want to have happen, for sure. Call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw and firewood needs at River Region Straw.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
We're back here a couple of minutes to the top of the hour. As we mentioned earlier, the Sugar Bowl will be this afternoon, postponed, well, not exactly 24 hours, but close to it. Notre Dame and Georgia, some line movement there. Barry asked me earlier today why Notre Dame's a favorite now.
By one.
Maybe Range Pro can tell us. He's a big line movement guy. Of course, Alabama's line moved big time Tuesday morning. I'm still trying to figure out why.
Yeah, Alabama, their line moved in Alabama's favor like 4 points. Yeah. And you're thinking somebody else must have opted out for Michigan. They got no chance. They had a chance. We got to talk with Mike Griffith sometime soon from the AJC and Dog Pen. because Carson Beck got hurt his elbow in the Texas game and surgery and all that kind of stuff. He has said that he is going into the NFL draft. He's taken his last snap at Georgia. That's a big loss. Good quarterback, plenty of experience, a lot of success, blah, blah, blah. But to hear how people are talking about the backup quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, who played well late in the Texas game, helped provide them a victory. Carson Beck was just standing in the way, Man, I'm glad we got rid of that guy so we can play. I mean, this kid, he's got a 1985 Ford F-150. Love that. He owns like 14 cows. The players play hard for him and all that. I'm thinking, well, dang, if this kid is all that, why wouldn't he play in the whole season? It's like they're saying, okay, now here we go. So I'm interested to see Gunnar Stockton in the game this afternoon. But I got to tell you, I agree with you, and I agree with Rodney and Jason. There's no question in my mind that Ohio State's the most talented team out there. But if I had to pick a dark horse, a team that I think is really playing well at the proper time and hitting on all cylinders, I got to go Notre Dame. I mean, they have been kicking butt and taking names. Yeah. They're playing really well. I think they win this game today against Georgia and move
we've
on.
Seen, we've seen this Georgia team kind of hiccup, stumble, not play well. Got beat. Certainly Alabama beat them. Yep. And I'm with you. I could see Georgia having a tough go of it. Barry, your thoughts about Alabama being undefeated if they played a different quarterback this year?
I don't think so. And it goes back to my point that it ain't all on Jalen Milroe. They could have had a chance, I suppose, to beat Tennessee. And they absolutely, obviously, should have beaten the big three, the double-digit three.
Yeah. So
Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and Michigan.
If that's the case, that's on the coaching staff for allowing Milroe to continue to play. Are they scared the team's going to split on them? Are they worried about a blow up in the locker room? I mean, so what? I mean, that's what you get paid $10 million to make those types of decisions. And if there was a quarterback on that roster that could give you more diversity, could expand the playbook, something that I've been calling for over a year, and they didn't do it, that's problems.
Well, that's the other side to the coin of what Rodney was talking about. If somebody other than Jalen Milroe had been the quarterback, they could have gone undefeated. Maybe so, but I got to see that other quarterback. I mean, would Ty Simpson have been the difference maker? I honestly don't know. And anybody who says that they do, must have been an assistant coach or somebody who was at every practice because you never got a chance. Just the fact that it would be a quarterback other than Milroe doesn't automatically gain those games as wins. Who would it be? Would it be Simpson? Would he be the difference maker? Is he a 3 or 4 game, 3 or 4 win factor? I don't know. That's the only thing I'm hesitant about is I don't got to see who they got instead of him, though.
And I don't know if they would have gone undefeated. I'm not going that.
No. Yeah,
but I'm with you, Barry. I don't think they lose to Vanderbilt. And I get what people are going to say. Well, they gave up 40 points. I get what you're saying there. I don't think they lose to Oklahoma. Maybe Tennessee. But if that, then the coaching staff's got to, suck it up and make some hard, tough. And Rodney, to me, Barry, has been hinting at this for weeks. They have got to make some tough decisions. This mamby-pamby, tiptoeing through the tulips, not one of anybody's feelings.
Warm and fuzzy.
And you got to start making some tough decisions. And if, people, get the lip poked out, so be it.
Well, if somebody wants to, John already early in the show, what card did he throw out early in this? The Bill Curry card? And I'm thinking,
I got to tell you, Barry, I got to give credit where credit is due. Actually, somebody texted that to me.
Well, okay.
That was not an original thought of mine, but once I saw it, I went, ooh, that is a good one.
Well, so he threw that out early in the new year. So I'm going to throw this one out. I want to throw out the Colt McCoy card.
Oh.
Was Jalen Milroe, did he miss any tackles on Diego Pavia? Was Jalen Milroe, does he play defense? Can I throw that Colt McCoy card out there? I don't know that. I don't think Milroe was the problem against Vanderbilt. Of course, the pick six didn't help, but
well, there you're true.
You've got a quarterback who everybody knows is going to run that RPO, and he's going to run it himself most of the time. Still couldn't tackle him. I don't think that was Milroe's fault.
Yeah, but there again, maybe it goes back to just the overall morale of the offense. Were they a little worn out with Milroe? You got to wonder. We saw it Tuesday. You got wide receivers out there doing this number.
That was a bad look. Even if they're right, and they were right, you don't do that. Goodness gracious. Well,
right. So tomorrow I will be at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where Price sells cars. New Year savings going on at Stivers. We'll tell you all about that. I believe Barry said you'll still be in Boone tomorrow.
Yep, I'm in Boone, North Carolina now. I'll be in Boone, North Carolina tomorrow. And after the show, we're driving up to Huntington, West Virginia. So we're looking forward to that. Several special guests on the Friday show we're looking forward to.
Yeah, we certainly are. Got a lot of special guests. We got a little political slant tomorrow that we're going to touch on. Looking forward to that.
We'll mix in some sports with that.
That's right. Yeah. We certainly will. We're going to recap tonight's or this afternoon's Sugar Bowl, of course, the Gator Bowl as well, and get ready for Week 17, which is the final regular season week in the NFL, and, of course, the start of SEC conference basketball play. So we got a lot to talk about tomorrow. And, yes, Chris, we had a lot going on today. Don't worry. The Victorland 777 wheel will be back tomorrow.
We will be back as well. Appreciate everybody joining in, including Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com, the Tiger Insider, Rodney Orr. For John Longshore, I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.